Wright is really clever with lyrics. Jewel is really clever with lyrics. I think Jim right now is grown into that spot. I think Jim always rapped really good, but he had more of the gangster image or the tough guy image to where people might not have been necessarily paying attention to his lyrics, but more of his image. And now I think they're kind of respecting his lyrics as well. But
Cameron just laid out exactly why Jim Jones was always the heartbeat of Dipset.
Even though Jim Jones was never recognized for his lyrics, Cameron just explained why he was always the lifeblood of Dipset. You see, everyone claims to be familiar with the Dipset tale, the dominance of mixtapes, bandanas, and pink furs. However, Cam discovers something much deeper when he begins to peel this item back. Anything that the industry was reluctant to publicly state. Jim Jones wasn't disregarded because he didn't have bars. People were enthralled with the character, the threat, the fights, and the overall warrior aesthetic, so they disregarded him. It was much too late for them to start paying attention to the lyrics. Cam begins by dissecting the Dipset dynamic in a manner that is unique to him. He depicts a group of men on the block, spending hours debating who is actually in charge. Jules has the hooks and flair, while J.R. Writer has the punchlines. However, Jim Jones possessed the one thing that cannot be taught: presence, style, and influence. Everyone aspired to look like him. Cam claims that the swagger blueprint is the belt loop chain, a whole wave that shaped the culture, he remarked. I'm going to start playing this video for everyone, but first, hit the like button. Leave a comment with your ideas.
Well, pure lyrics. J.R. Writer was really nice.
Writer's block.
J.R. Writer is a lyric. You're talking pure lyrics. The nigga who could make the best songs, Jewels. You know what I'm saying? Niggas want to be like Jim. You know what I'm saying? To where you like want to dress like him. You want to put chain on your belt loop and all that shit. You know what I'm saying? So I thought Dipset had a great dynamic because it was like, I seen this with No Limit. You know, that's what made me kind of want to create Dipset or a movement in general, because we would be on my block and niggas would be arguing about their favorite in No Limit. Like, nah, man, that nigga Mystical is better than Silk the Shocker. Like, nah, y'all bugging. It's another nigga that's better than this nigga. And when you have those type of arguments, you like, who gives a fuck who you like as long as they're all in the group. So I think it depends on how you look at it. When you say the best artist, you said the best lyricist. J.R. Wright is really clever with lyrics. Jewel is really clever with lyrics. I think Jim right now is grown into that spot. I think Jim always rapped really good, but he had more of the gangster image or the tough guy image to where people might not have been necessarily paying attention to his lyrics, but more of his image. And now I think they're kind of respecting his lyrics as well. But if you're talking during the height, I think if you're giving all around, even including myself, I think Jewel's had everything.
And he only put out one album.
Two.
Well, wasn't one a mixtape and one was an album?
No, he put out 2 albums, but then he started doing a lot of mixtapes.
Right.
Yeah.
What, like when you think of Dipset, right? Like, how did that all come about, right? Because there have been many people trying to make groups since then, right? There was ASAP, which was big. That was probably the only other big thing that came out of Harlem. Like, was it, you were obviously popping first, right? And then did you find Jewels? And then you, in your mind, were you like, all right, I'm gonna turn this into a group? Or like, how did that all come about?
So the way it came about, I had a deal already, and I used to hang out at Jim's house, and me and Mace was like, you know, Jimmy, we could teach you how to rap, and he picked up on it quick. You know what I'm saying? He didn't start off as a rapper. He started as one of our niggas. And then he started learning the format and getting good at it. So me and Jim had a rapport because our grandmothers lived in the same building. And then Jewels, my situation wasn't really right at entertainment. And my man kept trying to introduce me to Jewels. And he's like, yo, I got this kid that's nice. I'm like, all right, but I got to get my shit together. And we was driving around my car and I fell asleep. And I woke up and Jewels was in the back of my car. He's like, this is I'm telling you, man. I'm looking at my man like, yo, bro, I just told you my shit ain't right.
Yeah.
I kinda get this kid shit together. I'm almost getting my shit together, cool. But he's already in the car. I'm like, go ahead and rap. And that nigga from day one was spitting it. That nigga was nice from the very, very first day I met him. And I'm like, oh, this nigga's nice. And then I didn't really have a good eye for marketing, not like that, but I brought him to the studio when we was working on SDE and asked some bitches in there, and they was like, oh, he's cute. I'm like, oh, the hoes like this nigga too. So this nigga can rap, the hoes like him, and he knew how to do songs and do hooks. You got people who know how to rap, but they don't necessarily how to do songs, you know what I'm saying? Like, for instance, like, I'm not saying I'm not frowning upon nobody, but I think even when I was working with Vado, he started learning how to be good at hooks. He's a great rapper, one of the best lyricists, but learning how to do hooks, and he became really good at it as well. Joel's had all that shit from the very first day I met him. He was ready to go from the beginning, but he was in a group called Draft Picks, and I told him straight up, I'm like, I don't really like your man like that. If you want to come fuck with what we trying to do, come fuck with us. But he was in the deal, so I don't expect you to curve your nigga. He's like, let me think about it. And then I guess him and his partner had to talk, and he's like, I'm gonna come fuck with y'all. I was like, you can double back and get him, but he just can't come on this ride, pause.
Draft picks.
And then once you had Jim, who you and Mace were teaching to rap, you had Jewels, now you're in a major label deal, but learning probably the bullshit that you had been through, you had the vision early on to basically, mixtapes were popping at that point, so you were like, you're gonna keep this independent until you got to Koch?
Well, you know, we've seen movements aren't new. You got like, what was that shit? The Native Tongues, Tribe Called Quest, and all them other niggas, and you got Cash Money, and you got Rough Riders, and you got Murder Inc., you got Wu-Tang. It's like, it wasn't new for me to do try to do a group. Even Big Al, he's trying to do Children of the Corn with everybody. You know what I'm saying? I'm on his album as well. When I'm fucking 17, 18 years old, how old I was. But the point being is, movements are new. I just was saying, when I see niggas on my block arguing about some New Orleans rappers and who was their favorite and so on and so forth, that's when I said I need to put this together. But to me, it wasn't nothing that hadn't been done already.
At this point in the discussion, it becomes clear why Dipset was more than just a rap group. It was a comprehensive guidebook for improving your skills, redefining yourself, and creating something far more expansive than your surroundings. Hold on. Something makes sense when you hear Cam explain it. Jim Jones was respected from an early age despite his lack of skill, because the culture wasn't prepared to recognize the kind of change Jim was actively undergoing. He missed it. Hip-hop adores the finished result. The grind required to form such product is hardly acknowledged. Additionally, Jim Jones was changing in real time in front of everyone. It's true what Cam mentioned about teaching Jim the fundamentals. It doesn't make Jim appear inexperienced. Rather, it demonstrates the contrary. It demonstrates the amount of work Jim had to put in to become the person we know today. Someone can receive structural coaching from you. Hunger cannot be programmed, but delivery can be coached. Jim Jones entered the room by himself with that appetite. For this reason, I don't think it's fair to compare him to artists who achieve perfection. Jim Jones wasn't well prepared for the game. With unwavering resolve, he intervened, and a completely new kind of respect is earned for that degree of drive. This is the bit that caught my attention. Cam noted that in the beginning, the image took precedence over the lyrics. To be honest, it did. The visual was Jim. Jim was the mindset. Jim was the driving force. People initially became fixated on that. However, the Dipset technique was designed with that force in mind. Before any significant push, Dipset moved more than 1 million mixtapes on its own, whether they want to acknowledge it or not. Only when each member talks directly to the culture will that kind of natural takeover succeed. And Jim Jones was one of their best bridges. It says more about the listeners than it does about Jim that he is only now receiving recognition for the song. Some people don't respect the road until they see you succeed. However, you understand Cam wasn't exaggerating when you go back to the Dipset catalog and Jim's solo run and hear the evolution, the workmanship, the confidence, and the pen come to life. Jim Jones developed into that role. He deserved every bit of it, and given the difficult past that two have shared, Cam's statement carries weight. I have a question for you all. Do you believe Jim is finally receiving the respect he merits, or is he still being ignored by society? And when influence, bars, and star power are taken into account, Who in Dipset possessed the most complete package? Please leave your responses below and remember to subscribe and like.